What's up, everyone, and welcome back. Justin Gaethje just beat Paddy Pimblett this past weekend at UFC 324, and now Movsar Evloev is calling it an easy fight for Ilia Topuria. Before we get into it, make sure to smash that like button to help support the channel. During the fight, Movsar was sitting in the crowd reacting to everything, and he didn't hold back. He called both Justin and Paddy's fighting style dirty boxing with no real technique. Then said Ilia Topuria is probably laughing watching this because it's going to be an easy night for him. Here's what Movsar said in the clip. Ilia is laughing now because they have very boxing, really. You know, they just fighting hard. But there is no good technique. Ilia will be left now because Ilia has such a high-level boxing. Now look, Ilia does have incredible boxing and his combinations look almost perfect. But that doesn't mean we should write off Justin Gaethje's hands. Gaethje has been in absolute wars and proven himself time and time again. And as you guys know, one shot can change everything instantly. The good news is we won't have to speculate for long because the UFC is reportedly booking Gaethje versus Topuria for the White House card in June. And speaking of Ilia, he made an appearance on a show called Guess the Pro Fighter. And that's when he threw a jab at Islam Makhachev, Khabib Nurmagomedov, and Charles Oliveira. Two random guys were asked to grapple, and Ilia had to pick which one wasn't a pro fighter. The guy he picked turned out to be an amateur fighter who claimed he trained in Dagestan with Islam and Khabib, then went to Brazil and trained with Charles Oliveira. Ilia looked at him and said, "That's why you haven't improved." This all went down on Ibai Llanos' show. Now let's circle back to Paddy Pimblett. Bilal Muhammad thinks Paddy should fight Dan Hooker next because Arman Tsarukyan would be too much to handle right now. Bilal said Paddy's going to need serious recovery time, and the UFC definitely wants to get him back in the win column without throwing him to the wolves. There are no layups in the UFC anymore, but Bilal thinks they'll probably match him up with somebody like Dan Hooker since they've been going back and forth talking trash. Arman is the toughest test in that lightweight division for any of these guys, and Bilal doesn't know where Paddy goes from here after a fight like that. And here's something wild. Sean O'Malley claimed he saw Paddy aggressively ripping his vape while everyone was cutting weight for UFC 324. Sean said, "Dude, I could not believe it. I was on weight at 136 pounds in the back, dying like everyone else. And Paddy was sitting there ripping his vape, blowing clouds. I chat GPT'd it." Sean pointed out that Paddy was on weight at 154 pounds, and the guy used to walk around at 200 pounds. And the only thing going into his body and hitting his bloodstream was that toxic vape. Arman Tsarukyan allegedly broke Dan Hooker's nose during their stare-down, and this is getting messy. Over the past couple months, we've been covering the whole Arman saga of him not getting a title shot. And Dana White has publicly said Arman didn't get the shot because he pulled out of the Islam Makhachev fight a year ago, and because of some out-of-octagon actions. One of those moments was what happened with Dan Hooker during the stare-downs in Qatar when Arman headbutted him, and in his own words, Arman said he can't control his anger. You can see why Dana isn't exactly rushing to give him a title fight. During a recent appearance on Ariel Helwani's show, Dan revealed that the headbutt actually broke his nose. They found out after the fight that he had a fractured nose from that incident with Arman at the weigh-ins. Dan said, "When he headbutted me at the weigh-in and broke my nose, it pissed me right off, mate. I was fuming. I wanted that back, but you just have to brush it off and put that in the back of your mind. That threw me off for sure." Ariel asked if he missed that detail, and Dan confirmed, "Oh yeah, they scanned me after the fight. They took me to the hospital and scanned me, and they were like, 'Oh, you got a fractured nose?' I was like, 'That was from the weigh-in, brother. That had absolutely nothing to do with the fight. You got to medically clear it for this fight, and I just flat refused, brother." So, with this new information, does it change how you look at Arman's performance at UFC Qatar? He fought an opponent with a fractured nose that he allegedly caused before the fight even started. Arman says otherwise, though. After the clip started making rounds on social media, Arman reacted by sharing a side-by-side photo of Dan before and after the fight with the caption, "Come on, Dan." What's interesting is Dan is actually on Arman's side when it comes to getting a title shot next. During the same interview, he said, "I feel bad. I like Arman now. He won me over as a fan. That's the saddest part about it. The best years of his career are being wasted, bro. He should be fighting Ilia. Who doesn't want to see that?" And let's be real here. After watching Paddy versus Gaethje, who actually sees Gaethje beating Ilia at this point? Last night, Arman made an appearance on Daniel Cormier's YouTube channel, where he publicly apologized to Dana White and Hunter Campbell, and asked for a title fight. Arman said, "Dana and Hunter, forgive me. Give me the title fight. I'll be a good boy. I'm a good boy. I'm not going to hit anybody anymore. Trying to be a good boy. but I cannot in the training camp. It can happen everything you know. You can get hurt. But for the fight card, and for punching bags or headbutt anybody, never happen again. But I'm going to the fights and watch fights, and if someone is trying to slap me, what I can do? I gotta slap him back, right? As for why Arman isn't getting a title shot, he repeated the same reasons we mentioned earlier. What's crazy is he said he hasn't even spoken to Dana privately about the incident. When asked if he buys the reason he's not getting the title fight, Arman said, "I think this is Paramount's first fight, or first Paramount event. That's why they're a little bit scared to put me there, because I pulled out once in my life from my fight, and they don't believe that I can make it happen." The second one is the headbutt. Third one is that I punched the fan. Now let's talk UFC 324 updates. We're right back in fight week for UFC 325, but first Paramount just released the numbers and they're looking strong. Paramount Plus revealed the first ever UFC card on the platform peaked at an insane 5.93 million concurrent streams. If this UFC Paramount partnership ever expands into more regions, that could be huge for the company with how the numbers are looking right now. Following UFC 324, we now have our first official ranking update in 2026. Justin Gaethje is now ranked number 1 in the division with Arman, Oliveira, and Holloway, all moving down a spot. As for Paddy Pimblett, he's staying at rank 5. In the bantamweight division, since both Umar and Merab won, nothing was changed, and Merab remains ranked number 3, while Umar is still ranked number 2. Gene Silva saw a huge jump in the featherweight rankings following his fight against Arnold Allen, moving up 4 spots in the division. Alexander Volkanovski and Diego Lopez were captured facing off to kick off Fight Week for their Sydney, Australia event this weekend. How do you guys see this one playing out? Do we get a repeat of the first fight? Or do you think Lopez gets it done this time? Cub Swanson just revealed he'll be competing at UFC 327. He posted a photo on Instagram with the date for UFC 327, which is happening in Miami, and captioned it, "It's official. The 42-year-old is coming off a fight night win over Billy Quarantillo and is currently 15-10 in the UFC. Who would you like to see Cub fight at UFC 327? Rose Namajunas had an emotional moment after her loss to Natalia Silva this past weekend. Sucker Punch Entertainment, the agency that manages Rose, shared a video of her signing autographs for fans after the fight. You can tell Rose was really emotional after the loss, but she didn't want her fans to leave empty-handed, so she stayed and interacted with everyone. Huge props to Rose for that. Sean O'Malley versus Corey Sandhagen might be next. While on Ariel Helwani's show, Sugar Sean admitted he wants to make as much money as possible, and if the UFC wants him to fight Corey Sandhagen next, then he wants to be paid like he's fighting for the title. According to Sean, the way his contract is set up, he makes a lot more money when he's fighting for the title. To counter that, he wants to negotiate with the UFC and get the same pay as he would fighting for the title, while not actually fighting for the title, Sean said. I would ask, can I wait for Peter Yan and let that fight play out? I want to fight for the belt, or pay me the same amount as I would for a title fight, and I'll fight Corey. For me, this has been a business since the beginning. Since day one, I have wanted to make as much money as possible. Right now, the way my contract's set up, I make a lot more money fighting for the title, or pay me this. I would say, hey, at the end of the day, UFC tells you what to do. I would negotiate. I would say, hey, is there any way I can make the same amount of money and go from there? Whether Sean has enough star power and pull in the UFC to get that done is questionable. His level of stardom has fallen off quite a bit since Merab beat him twice, and even in his last win, the reaction wasn't as great as everyone expected. Sean had some critique on himself too. According to him, he thinks his fight with Song Yadong was closer than he thought, and he should have thrown his hands more than he did. Sean said, I rewatched it, understanding and knowing how dangerous Song is. I'm happy with the performance because I went out there and did what I needed to do. I landed more shots, I did more damage against a very skilled, tough, fast fighter. That was the best Song Yadong. I rewatched it and I'm like, I could have let my hands go a little bit more. He's such a powerful counterpuncher and he's so fast. Yeah, the more I let my hands go, the more risk there is coming back. Part of the lower output was my game plan. The less I throw, I know he's going to counter less. He wasn't very offensive. I wanted to land shots. Get in, get out, and that's what I did. Sean then revealed he has only 2 more fights left on his contract and he'll most likely renegotiate with the UFC before his next fight. He's also happy with the new UFC bonus structure and said he wished it was this way before when he won his 8 bonuses. Sean said, I think I have 2 more fights left on my contract. UFC doesn't really like when fighters fight out their contracts because then you're a free agent. I feel like I'll probably renegotiate before my next fight. I'm hoping that UFC is always taking care of me. They've been very good to me. But yes, I definitely would like to see the fighter pay get increased. increased. I saw the bonuses got moved up, which is so crazy. I think I have 8 or 9 bonuses. I'm like, damn, if that would have been 100,000 per bonus, 800 or 900,000 would have been sweet. And I think they did a great job with that. Ariel Helwani went off on Dana White for his Tom Aspinall comments. At the post-fight press conference at UFC 324, Dana was asked about Tom Aspinall's eye injury, and Dana basically dismissed it and said Tom's surgery was elective. The MMA community was shocked by Dana's comments and how he's reacting to his heavyweight champion being injured. Aspinall himself came out, questioning why he was being mentioned at the event when he wasn't even part of it. Ariel didn't hold back and went off on Dana for treating Aspinall with what he called random disrespect, especially since this event wasn't even about him. Ariel said, I don't know if he's still annoyed, if he had grander plans, if this screwed up plans, I don't know what it is. But to react like that about an eye injury and say it was actually elective injections. What? Who's signing up for elective injections? Honestly, who's signing up for elective injections? How could you be so dismissive of your heavyweight champion? Forget heavyweight champion, of any fighter who fights for you. Aljamain Sterling then responded to Ariel's video, basically saying he understands what Tom is going through right now because it happened to him. Aljo wrote, I've been where Tom is right now. He can fight and win, and people are still going to find some way to bring it up and make a complaint about it as if it's not in the past, and as if he wasn't affected by it. I've always said when Dana does things like this, the casual fan eats it up. It doesn't take much to just show your fighters some grace. It doesn't cost anything. It's free. It's free. A fan called out Aljo for being a hypocrite and switching his stance on Aspinall's injury, even though at first he was hating. The fan said, Aljo, let's not forget that you went against Tom when he pulled out of the fight without even finding out how bad he was hurt, despite you being in the same position before. That was strange. Sterling fired back at the fan and wrote, the fact that you guys still think that response is going against him is bizarre. I literally said only he knows how he felt. My only thing against him was that he immediately said the words that caused the fight right away. Jesus, give it a break and use the ears and eyeballs God gave you. What do you think of this whole situation? Should Aspinall get more sympathy, especially from his boss? Or do you think Tom ruined the UFC's plans and now Dana has to secretly hide his anger while putting on a poker face? Let us know what you think down in the comments. Ilia revealed some sad news recently. It was revealed that Ilia has put his $3.5 million home up for sale this month following his legal disputes. This was the house he shared with his ex-wife, and it's located in one of the most luxurious parts of Madrid, where he frequently trained. If you remember, this place was loaded. He had his own gym with everything he could have needed for recovery, including a hyperbaric chamber, a cold plunge, and machines many of us have probably never even heard of. Hopefully none of this sets him back from getting back in the octagon. New details confirm Dana White wasn't lying about Justin Gaethje's payment. After Justin came out and said the UFC isn't paying him more following their deal with Paramount, Dana White shut down those claims and said Gaethje was offered more money but never accepted. The MMA community didn't necessarily believe that Dana actually offered him more money, especially because Justin dismissed the claim at the press conference and didn't even want to mention it in front of Dana. Now it's been confirmed by Gaethje's manager, Ali Abdelaziz, that Dana did in fact offer Justin more money. In a new interview with Mike Bone, here's what Ali had to say. Listen, I have rules. I don't talk about financial business. Dana was right. It was an offer we made. It was made. But, sometime for a little bit more money, Dana was not lying, but in reality, Justin, maybe he was not okay with the offer. I think nobody in the UFC deserves to make more than Justin Gaethje. I don't give a nobody. Even I was talking to Islam yesterday. He's like, in the Hall of Fame, he should be the first one. He makes money, he should be the first one. And that'll wrap up our video today. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications to never miss a video. We'll see you all tomorrow.